Yes, so hello, I am Benedicte, the developer responsible for the Varsom app, and this is my client Erik. We'll go through some of the good and the bad with the future of Ionic sprinkled in between. But first, Erik will tell us what the app is all about.
Hello everybody. The varsom app is basically a stripped down version of the website varsom.no, and its purpose is to keep you informed about natural hazards in Norway. In effect, avalanche, flood, and landslide forecasts. We warn you.
So we released the Ionic version of the app in February of this year. And Erik, what have you liked so far about this project?
Well, the app works great and it looks good.
So in my experience, it's really easy to make a good-looking app with the Ionic framework components. It's easy to make it look good, but it's also easy to make it behave the way users expect on their platform.
It might also be that you have a better eye for design than you like to admit.
Thank you. So the framework, the Ionic framework, consists of the basic UI components you'll need in an app, letting you focus on the special needs of your clients, not creating the full component library yourself. So the Ionic framework components are Angular 2 components. But going forward, Ionic is rewriting all of these as pure web components, which is an interesting move by the Ionic team.
So maps are really important for our forecasting services. And what is your take on the map integration in Ionic?
Yes, so I choose to use the open source framework Leaflet, and it was easy for me to create a specialized Angular 2 component where we got the map features that we wanted. So easy.
Yeah. And another big benefit with Ionic, from my perspective, is that it allows me to communicate with just one team on this project.
Yes, so by using the UI components and the hybrid approach that Ionic gives us, it's easy to get more out of a small team. And so in this project, we eliminated the need for many of the specialized roles you usually see in an app team, and we solved Erik's needs with a very tiny team consisting of me.
Yep. I also really enjoy how easy it is to follow the project through frequent updates in the Ionic preview.
Yeah, so from my perspective, Ionic View is pure gold. So by downloading the Ionic View app on his phone, Erik has access to the latest version of the app I'm creating almost immediately after I've typed Ionic upload in my terminal. And this makes me want to share my updates much more than I do when I have to put it all through the beta process or alpha process of the Play Store and App Store. And so I share it much more with my clients and also other testers. And it seems I'm not the only one who really likes this approach. And the Ionic View is now betting on developers wanting to pay their way out of more of these types of pains. So they've released something called Ionic Pro, and it gives you access to the Ionic View, but also native app builds, real-time app updates, and all of this is supposed to be powered by a Git-centric workflow. So I've not had time to play with it yet, but it looks really nice, and if you want to, you can follow my Twitter, and I'll share my experiences when I start playing with it this fall.
But it hasn't been all gold, has it? I mean, like, the initial loading on the app is quite slow, for instance.
Yeah, so I think native apps will always be snappier and load faster, but unfortunately our app loads a lot slower than I would like. And I think some of that is that I haven't really utilized the potential of Angular 2's ahead of time compiling and their lazy loading. But I'm guessing some of it is also because of the slowness that you see with a hybrid approach where you actually use web technology and not compile to native. But it seems the Ionic team has been very aware of this, and they wanted to solve it by just throwing engineering power at it, but they hit a wall. And then they started to look at other solutions than just Angular 2, and this is when they came up with creating all their components as pure web components, and that supposedly has sped up their apps. And we'll see what that means for our app and Ionic apps in general when they release Ionic 4.
Another really important feature of the varsom app is push notification, and sadly, Ionic Push will be switched off in January 18.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the Ionic team has been experimenting with how they should monetize while keeping their framework open source. And they have now chosen to focus on developer and the developer tools and services and ecosystem. But before, they tried to make money off of Ionic Cloud, which was a set of services, including Ionic Push, but also Ionic Authentication, and for a little while, Ionic Databases. So luckily, we only used one of those, but it's still pretty annoying to having to find a new solution for that. And then on this note, I want to talk about something that Erik has not had to deal with. But whenever I go back to the project, there's always some updates they want me to do. And I have to choose, should I update now or should I not update now? So we started the project when Ionic 2 was, I think, in release candidate 2. And we went into production in release candidate 6. So, of course, it's been a very immature technology to work with. And sometimes I found myself in NPM dependency hell and just having to delete the configurations and try again. But I'm hoping moving forward the framework will be more stable and that they've found their way to make money and also how they want the framework to be.
So lastly, why does it take you developers so long to get updates into the actual stores?
Yeah, so I must admit that part of the problem is me. I just hate the whole process. I postpone it as long as I can. And when I first do it, it feels like something always goes wrong because I don't do it as often as I should. And I have to just make myself sit and watch everything compile, because if I start with something else, I'll just postpone it again. So that makes me excited for the native app builds that Ionic are going to give us in the cloud. I have not tested it yet, and I'm guessing it won't take all of the pain out of getting apps into the App Store, but hopefully some of it, and also making me do it more so I get better at it. They are also releasing, or they have had for quite some time, the real-time app updates as part of their cloud solution that they're closing down, but they're keeping it in the new Pro. So I want to try that out, and with that, you're supposed to be able to change parts of your app and get those updates into your users without having to go through the app stores at all. So that's I'm a little excited about that. So would we do it again?
Hell yeah.
So there has been some problems, but we got a lot further than we would have with not using Ionic with such a small team. And if you're interested in the framework, Julian will be giving a more thorough overview of the offerings in Thor at 1500 hours. So thank you.
Thank you.